Hari Om. Prostrating at the lotus feet of Shrotriya Brahmanishta Sadguru Swami Virajeshwara Saraswati and the entire Guru Parampara on behalf of all of us. Today's discourse on Viveka Chudamani will continue. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Shri Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakruto Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmiham. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya Hari Om. Last time we had stopped at the shloka number 364 in the verse number 364. So from 365 onwards, today we are commencing. In all these sets of shlokas, ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಮಾಧಿಯ ಮಹತ್ವ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ನಿರ್ವಿಕಲ್ಪ ಸಮಾಧಿಯ ಮಹತ್ವದ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಗಾತ್ಮನಲ್ಲಿ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಕರಣ ಮಾಡೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ ತ್ರಿಪುಟಿ ನಾಶ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ವಾಸನಾಕ್ಷಯ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಅಂತಹ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವತ್ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರ ಭಗವತ್ ಕೃಪೆಯಿಂದ, ಆತ್ಮನ ಕೃಪೆಯಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಸದ್ಗುರುವಿನ ಕೃಪೆಯಿಂದ ಆ ಸಮಾಧಿ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ, ಆಳವಾದ ಸಮಾಧಿ ಸ್ಥಿತಿನಲ್ಲೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕ. ಸೊ in these set of shlokas, Acharya Shankara Bhagavad Pada is highlighting to the qualified disciple the utmost sacredness or the importance of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that single pointed, the highest spiritual absorption, going inward and inward mentally. When the three levels of distinctions are lost, vasana or loss or vasanakshaya will occur, that ultimately results in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where Triputinasha occurs, and that by the grace of God or Ishvara or Sadguru leads to ultimately what is called as in Vedanta the realization or knowing our own reality. Realization of the Mahavakya in Upanishads, that is Tattvamasi. Now, in the next shloka, Ata samadatsva yatendriyasan nirantaram shantamanaha pratichi vidvamsayadvantam anadya vidyaya kritam sadekatva bilokanena. Ata samadatsva yatendriyasan nirantaram shantamanaha pratichi vidvamsayadvantam anadya vidyaya kritam sadekatva vilokanena. ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು? ಶಿಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ, ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷುವಾದಂತಹ ಶಿಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೋಡಪ್ಪ ವತ್ಸ, ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನ, ನಮ್ಮ ಜ್ಞಾನೇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನ ಕರ್ಮೇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನ ಸಹಿತವಾಗಿ ನೇಮಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಡಿತದಲ್ಲಿಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು ಶಾಂತ ಮನಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಉಳ್ಳವನಾಗಿ ಒಳಗಡೆನೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಗಾತ್ಮ ಸ್ವರೂಪನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಅಂತರ್ಯಾಮಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಈಶ್ವರನಲ್ಲಿ, ಆತ್ಮನಲ್ಲಿ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿರಂತರಂ ಶಾಂತಮನಃ ಪ್ರತೀಚಿ ಸಮಾಧತ್ಸ್ವ. ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಸಂದೇಶ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ಪ್ರತೀಚಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಗಾತ್ಮನಲ್ಲಿ, ನಿನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮನಲ್ಲಿಯೇ, ಸರ್ವಾಂತರ್ಯಾಮಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮನಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಪ್ರತೀಚಿ ಶಾಂತಮನಃ ಸಮಾಧತ್ಸ್ವ. ನೀನು ಆ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸು. ಆ ಆತ್ಮನು ಒಬ್ಬನೇ ಎಂಬುದನ್ನು ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಇರುವುದು ಒಂದೇ ವಸ್ತು ಏಕಂ ಏವ ದ್ವಿತೀಯಂ ಎಂಬ ನೇರ ಅನುಭವ ಉಂಟಾದಾಗ ಆ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರದ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾನೇ ತಾನಾಗಿ ಅನಾದಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ತಮೋಪ್ರಧಾನವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಈ ಅವಿದ್ಯೆಯನ್ನ, ಅಂಧಕಾರಮಯವಾದ ಅವಿದ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ಹೋಗಲಾಡಿಸಿಕೋ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಶಿಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. These are the key words. So hence you remain in samadhi with your sense organs under your full control. Yatendriya san nirantaram shantamanaha pratichi samadhatsva. Ataha. So therefore, ataha means therefore, you remain in samadhi, in this type of total spiritual deep inward absorption. Remain in samadhi with your sense organs under your total control, with a tranquil mind, shanta manas, with a total serene mind, with unwavering, equanimous mind. Turn inwards, the mind which has turned inwards, and then by the grace of Atman himself, Sadguru himself or Ishvara himself, when the realization of your real identity with Brahma, when that is achieved, and then the darkness called avidya you have to get rid of, or automatically the darkness called avidya vanishes. So realize that you are the Brahma Swarupa. Realize that your true identity, your true nature, and destroy the darkness called avidya, which is beginningless, the primordial ignorance due to pramada, that I am the body. So that basic false notion, that false identification due to avidya or ignorance, you have to destroy. Vidvamsayadvantam anadya vidyaya krutam sadekatva vilokanena. After knowing your true identity, after realizing your true identity, anadi avidyaya dvantam krutam vidvamsaya. The dvantam here means darkness. What type of darkness? Spiritual darkness. Forgetting our own identity, real identity. That is darkness. Dvantam. Anadavidyaya krutam. So this false identity is due to ignorance, avidya. So you have to cut that. Vidvamsaya means you have to remove that, destroy that false identity that you are the body. Arrive and remember and realize and stay and abide in your true nature, that you are nothing but Atma Swarupa. You are nothing but that Pratyagatma Swarupa. There is only one, there is no second. That is the Brahma Vastu in the spiritual sense. That is the only existing, everlasting, without any change, without any birth or death. So that Brahma Vastu, that principle, that primordial, you are that only. You are that supreme consciousness. You are that supreme Parama Chaitanya, called Pratyagatma or Atma or Brahma Vastu. So you have to realize that. So cut off, burn and remove and destroy the avidya, the darkness called avidya or ignorance. That's what Acharya says. Then the next shloka, Acharya gives out how these things stepwise can be achieved during meditation, deep meditation, during spiritual absorption, or during samadhi, or while practicing samadhi, while practicing meditation. How to achieve all these? How to achieve this? Then Acharya says in the next shloka here, Yogasya prathamatvaram vang nirodho parigraha nirasha cha niriha cha nityamekanta shilata. Yogasya prathamadvaram vang nirodho parigraha nirasha cha niriha cha nityamekanta shilata. Now, logically, as a step by step, he instructs Acharya, Shankara Bhagavatpada instructs the disciple, the Shishya, the Mumukshu, Uttamadhikari, that how you have to start, how you have to commence. Yogasya Prathamadvaram. So the very first step, Prathamadvaram, the very first step, the most important, the very first step and followed by the other steps. What is that? Yogasya Prathamadvaram Vang Nirodho Aparigraha. Vak Nirodha plus Aparigraha. Yogasya Prathamadvaram. ಹಂತ ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷುವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಶಿಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು, ಶಂಕರ ಭಗವತ್ಪಾದರು. ನೋಡಪ್ಪ ಶಿಷ್ಯ, ಯೋಗದ ಮೊದಲನೇ ದ್ವಾರ ಅಥವಾ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಮೆಟ್ಟಲು, ಯೋಗ ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಮೊದಲ ಮೆಟ್ಟಲು, ಮೊದಲ ಹಂತ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾಕ್ ಸಂಯಮ. ಮಾತಿನ ಮೇಲೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ವಾಕಿನ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಿಡಿತ, ನಮ್ಮ ವಾಕ್ ಸಂಯಮ. ನಂತರ ಹಂತ ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ಅಪರಿಗ್ರಹ, ಆಶೆಯನ್ನ ಬಿಡೋದು, ಆಸೆಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಡೋದು, ಆಸೆಗಳು ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆಶಾರಹಿತ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ. ನಂತರ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಡೋದು, ಕರ್ಮರಹಿತ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ. ನಂತರ ಏಕಾಂತವಾಸ, ಏಕಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಹಂತ ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ಯೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಕೂಲವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಮೆಟ್ಟಿಲುಗಳು ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರಿಗೆ. So in the shloka, step by step, Acharya tells to the disciple that, look, my dear disciple, control of the speech, vak nirodha, means control of the speech pattern, what we talk. The total control over what we say, what we talk, how we communicate with others. So that mental control, weighing the pros and cons when we speak out, what to speak, how much to speak, and what not to speak, and with whom, how much to speak. All this comes under the very simple word called vak nirodha, though it is so difficult to achieve in life. The most difficult point in our life is this vak nirodha or vak sanyama, control over speech. Acharya says this is This is the first step towards yoga, fulfillment of yoga. The very first step towards the fulfillment of yoga is Vak Sanyama, Vak Nirodha, control over our tongue, how we speak and what we speak. You know, this word yoga, most of us, we have heard plenty of times in so many in so many lectures. So there is, if you want to just have a bird's eye view, panoramic eye view of what all the main types of yoga in Bhagavad Gita, Lord has mentioned and emphasized, you know, the karma yoga comes into the picture, bhakti yoga comes into the picture, jnana yoga or dhyana yoga comes into the picture. So the word yoga is very much connected with our Vedantic sense in the Vedantic literature, especially so in Bhagavad Gita. In our Indian philosophical systems in darshana, out of the 6 major Vaidika darshanas, Yoga Darshana propounded by Patanjali Maharshi is also an important Darshana Shastra. ಭಾರತೀಯ ವೇದಾಂತ ಪರಂಪರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವೈದಿಕ ಷಡ್ ದರ್ಶನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನ್ಯಾಯ ದರ್ಶನ, ವೈಶೇಷಿಕ ದರ್ಶನ, ಸಾಂಖ್ಯ ದರ್ಶನ, ಯೋಗ ದರ್ಶನ ಮತ್ತು ಪೂರ್ವ ಮೀಮಾಂಸ ದರ್ಶನ, ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಮೀಮಾಂಸ ಅಥವಾ ವೇದಾಂತ ದರ್ಶನ. 6 ದರ್ಶನಗಳು ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ದರ್ಶನ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಗಳು. ಯೋಗ ದರ್ಶನವೂ ಒಂದು. ಅದನ್ನು ಪತಂಜಲಿ ಮಹರ್ಷಿಗಳು ಹೇಳಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸೂತ್ರಗಳ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಯೋಗ ಸೂತ್ರಗಳು ಪತಂಜಲಿ ಮಹರ್ಷಿಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದು ಯೋಗ ದರ್ಶನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಪಾದಗಳಿದೆ. ಆ ಯೋಗ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ, ಆ ಯೋಗ ದರ್ಶನ ಪತಂಜಲಿಗಳ ಕೊಡುಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಸನಾತನ ವೇದಾಂತ ಧರ್ಮದ, ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದ, ವೈದಿಕ ಧರ್ಮದ ಪರಂಪರೆಗೆ. So out of the 6 important darshanas, like say for example, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Yoga is also an important darshana shastra that is propounded by Patanjali Maharshi in the form of very short aphorisms, sutras as they are called, yoga sutras, and divided into 4 major padas. And the word yoga as also used by Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita in so many ways. The yoga word is tagged on to karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, etc., etc. So the word yoga is a very common term. Most of us we have heard. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in the first pada called Samadhi Pada, the very second sutra is Chitta Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It comes to that point. Second sutra, it's there the yoga is mentioned. The very first sutra, very first one says in the Patanjali's Yoga Darshana, Atha Yoganushasanam. Now we start, now begins instructions on the yoga. Atha Yoganushasanam, the very first sutra in Samadhipada, in the Yoga Darshana. So what is this yoga? The word yoga, in our common sense, in simplest way, how I can remember, you can remember. Yoga means, joining, ultimately, associating. Yoga means associating ourselves with the eternal, association of ourselves with the eternal. Yoga, binding, associate, joining. See, the very first bhashya, commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Darshana, the Yoga Sutras, was given by Sri Vyasa Maharshi himself 5,000 years before. The same Vyasa Maharshi has given detailed bhashya, commentary on Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Based on that, in around 18th century, the famous Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Avadhuta Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra of Nerur, that is in Tamil Nadu, has in Sanskritam written a beautiful treatise named as Yoga Sudhakara. The Yoga Sudhakara book, treatise written by Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra, the Yogi Varanya Avadhuta Shikhamani of the contemporary present South Indian horizon of spiritual life. Sometime later, when the time comes in, we will take up about Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra Saraswati himself, 1 or 2 lines. And by the grace of our Gurudeva, I was permitted long back, some around 20 years back, to visit the Jiva Samadhi of Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra Mahaswamigal at Nerur on the banks of Kaveri River. That Nerur is a small village which is very near, maybe some 10 or 15 kilometers, 12 to 15 kilometers away from the bigger city called Karur in Tamil Nadu. So in Yoga Sudhakara book, Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra gives the commentary on the word yoga like this. Just basic point only I am taking up here. What Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra Mahaswamigal writes in his treatise called Yoga Sudhakara on yoga. Yuja samadho iti dhator yoga samadhihi. Yuja samadho iti dhator yoga samadhihi. Yuja samadho means union in spiritual absorption. Yuga samadho means union in spiritual absorption. This is the essential element of yoga. And hence, yoga means ultimately spiritual absorption. This is how the commentary starts on the very first Yoga Sutra of Patanjali Maharshi by Sri Sadashiva Brahmendra. So ultimately, yoga here in the spiritual sense means yoga means spiritual absorption. In other words, it is total one-pointed concentration that leads to your nirvikalpa samadhi. So yoga and samadhi here spiritually are nothing but one and the same. Yoga results in samadhi. That is the point. So yoga also here means your oneness with the Supreme. Your oneness with the Supreme means you are entering into that and trying to realize your own self, your own identity, your own reality. So that process that happens in samadhi, deeper, and as per Acharya here, it happens in nirvikalpa samadhi, by the grace of Guru himself, by the grace of God himself. No more personal efforts there. But initially, all the efforts are very much required. So that is the point Acharya is tagging on. So the very first step and subsequent steps in yoga. Now you attend now, you attentively tag on this point. The very first step and the following steps in yoga means spiritual absorption leading to samadhi. Here, that is how we have to take. What is the very first step? Control of the speech. Vak nirodha. Yogasya prathamadvaram vak nirodha. Paschat, then the other steps are aparigraha. First step is vak nirodha. Next is aparigraha. The next step is nirasha. The next step is niriha. And the next step is nitya ekanta shilata. So in this shloka, Acharya simply using very simple terms, profound information he is giving step by step for the disciple. So what is the step in yoga? The very first step is control of the speech. Yogasya prathamam dwaram vak nirodha, then aparigraha, then nirasha, then niriha, then nityam ekanta shilata nityam. So these are the further steps. So there, that is how stepwise you enter into yoga or yoga samadhi, spiritual absorption finally, which leads to nirvikalpa samadhi later. That is a hint Acharya is giving. That is a hint he is giving. Now, the very first step we all fail, generally. We all fail in the very first step itself. Why? It looks so easy, but so difficult in our life to follow. We cannot control our speech pattern. At what time, how much to say, with whom to say, what not to say, what to say, all these things we will never follow in our. So we simply talk as per our mental, the sets and thoughts and waves and thoughts, how they generate. The mind generates the thoughts, emotions, the impulses. Those impulses generated out of normal instinctive tendencies in our life, like jealousy, hatredness, love, envy. With all these points, anger, hate, lust, all these tendencies will make us to talk. So we don't control. We have no control over our tongue itself, speech, pattern. Controlling the speech is so difficult for all of us. And all of us, we have to agree on this. It is so difficult. So the one who can control, now he enters into the next higher steps in the path of yoga, leading to samadhi. The very first step, we all fail here. That is the point Acharya is silently but directly is hitting on our head in this shloka. Yogasya prathamadvaram vak nirodha and others. How to control our speech pattern? Only by constant practice. Now we have to remember what our Lord says in Bhagavad Gita. Abhyasena to kaunte. Vairagyena cha grashyate. We have to constantly remember what Lord says in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. How to control the mind. Abhyasena to kaunteya. Vairagyena cha grashyate. Lord says. So we have to always reflect upon, we have to think, we have to remember those beautiful sermon Upadesha, the divine song of Lord Krishna given in the form of Bhagavad Gita to the entire mankind. So, abhyasena tu kaunte. If I think, as Acharya says here, if I'm interested, determined to continue my spiritual sadhana, we have to pray sincerely the Sadguru residing inside, who is outside, who is inside, who is within, and who is without. All of the lucky people, sadhakas, mumukshus, those who have got a Brahmajnani as their Sadguru, the only way for us is we have to always fall at his lotus feet, mentally or physically, directly or indirectly, and pray sincerely to give us this sadbuddhi of vak nirodha, vak sanyam. The only way is to pray constantly. Otherwise, it is not possible. Our one word, our one sentence, our one thought will lead to like a splash, like a splinter. It will erupt into a huge flame later. It will create so much distress among all of us because of one simple talk, one simple gesture. When we accuse somebody, when we say something out of the turn, the person is offended. The person becomes remorse. He is totally offended. When I say something, he takes it a different sense. You might say in one sense, but the opponent person will take in a different sense. Mato, the words are like, like a sharp weapon. Without our knowledge, it will cut the opponent. So, how to control our speech pattern? Normally, it is not possible, but it is possible. We have to analyze every time we have to pray. I have to sincerely pray my Sadguru to see that I talk less or I talk what is just required. Let me not offend anyone by our talks, by our speech. So this is Vaksayam, especially required in the field of spirituality. During sadhana mode, it is definitely for any sadhaka, this is the first step. Then what? Aparigraha. Swami writes. What is aparigraha? Not possessing anything. Not possessing anything means, Mahaswami in his Bhashya writes here. Apart from what is barely your required minimum in your life is there, apart from that, don't possess, don't accumulate, don't hoard unnecessary extra things in the life, apart from what is required. So, aparigraha means not possessing. Not possessing. ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಬೇಕು ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಲ್ಲ, ಸಾಕು ಸಾಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವ ಅಪರಿಗ್ರಹ. ಯಾವುದನ್ನೂ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು, ಬಂದ ವಸ್ತುಗಳನ್ನ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಭಾವ ಅಪರಿಗ್ರಹ. Then nirasha. Nirasha word in Sanskritam actually means desirelessness, absence of desire, cutting off the desires, cutting off our expectations. Sometimes wrongly in our local languages, even in Hindi, nirasha means it is a negative tendency with the word. A person who is with nirasha means absolutely dejected. Person who is dejected. It is not that. Here, nirasha means without asha, without any desire, without extra desires or any desire. Just you flow along with the things in life. Whatever comes to you by prarabdha, it will come to you. Whatever is not bound to come to you, it will not come to you. So that is nirasha. Without any desire. If in your prarabdha you are bound to get extra money or wealth, it will come to you whether you like or not. If in your prarabdha you have to remain in your life as a very poor person without any basic necessities, then however much you try, the wealth will not flow to you. However much you try. That is prarabdha. That is vidhi. So Nirasha means desireless. Niriha. So the word Niriha actually means what? In one sense, in the spiritual sense, Nishkriya, without doing any karma, without doing any activity. Niriha, actionless in simple. No, don't get confused that what Acharya says, actionless means they are, then I have to sit at home all the time, 24/7, without doing any work. Niriha, actionless, without doing any work. Then how can I live? No, it is not like that. You have to go deeper into the core spiritual significance of these Vedantic terms used by Acharya, as and how they apply to us in the year 2022. Please remember, Acharya is speaking in Viveka Chudamani 1200 years back. So now, in this age of Kali, actionless means not being too much rajasic, too much ambitious, too much overactive in life, constantly on the move to possess this, to do that, to do this and to do that. One after another projects, one after another type of work. Always the mind and the body is constantly running behind the projects. Completion of the mental obligations, completion of the ambitious projects. You want to achieve the goal. You want to achieve this goal. So mind is always towards achievements, and also possessing more wealth. And mind always geared up to be more popular. Mind is always geared up to achieve something great. So that is called mind becoming too much rajasic, mind becoming too much active all the time, super active. Avoid that, niriha. So when you are too active, when the mind is too rajasic, always you are action bound in life. Action bound in. ನಿರೀಹ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋದು. ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋದು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ವೇ? ದೇಹಕ್ಕೆ ಶರೀರ ಪೋಷಣೆಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅತ್ಯಗತ್ಯ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ಆಸೆಗಳಿಂದ ತುಂಬಿದ ಕರ್ಮಗಳಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಬಿಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಹಿರಿಯ. ಅಂಡ್ ನಿತ್ಯಂ ಏಕಾಂತಶೀಲತ. Then as much as possible, try to remain in solitude, in ekanta, by yourself. Living by oneself is called ekanta. Ekanta generally means in a quiet place, going away from people, living separately, where you are not accessible to anyone. ಏಕಾಂತ ವಾಸ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಂದ ದೂರವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಕಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅರಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗೂಡು ಕಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇರೋದು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಿಜವಾದ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ಏಕಾಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಇದ್ದ ಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ, ಇದ್ದ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ, ನಾವು ಇರುವ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ನಾವು ಏಕಾಂತತೆಯನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸಬೇಕು. ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನ ಏಕಾಂತ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಬೇಕು. ಸುತ್ತಲೂ ಗದ್ದಲವಿದ್ದರೂ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಮೌನವಾಗಿರುವುದು ನಿಜವಾದ ಏಕಾಂತ. When you are living amidst the chaos of the worldly life in a big city, surrounded by all types of people, day in and day out, still when you are living in this chaotic world, when the mind is restrained, when the mind is in solitude, that is called ekanta. That is called living by oneself. Not perturbed, not bothered, not attracted, not stimulated, and not influenced by what activity going around you. Always mind is stabilized. Mind is at one point. Mind is always stabilized. Mind is always at one point resting. That is living by yourself. However much chaotic chaos is there around you, but if you remain silent mentally, that is called ekanta, solitude. That's what Acharya says. All these are steps. All these are steps towards to achieve yoga, to achieve that final union with Brahma. to immerse yourself in that spiritual absorption called samadhi. So that's what he says. Yogasya prathamadvaram vak nirodha aparigraha nirasha cha niriha cha nityam ekanta shilata. So control of speech, not acquiring any more than what is required, absence of desire, nirasha, and freedom from action, niriha, and living in ekanta or solitude by yourself. These are all steps towards yoga. Next, Acharya continues, fairly larger shloka here, next one. Ekanta sthitirindriyo paramane heturdamascetasah samrodhe karanam shamena vilayam yayat aham vasana tenanandarasana bhotirachala brahmi sada yoginah tasmat nirodha eva satatam karya prayatnan mune. Fairly long one. 4 charanas are there in the shloka here. Ekanta sthitirindriyo paramane heturdamascetasah tenanandarasana bhotirachala brahmi sada yoginah tasmat chitta nirodha eva satatam karya prayatnat mune. Tasmat chitta nirodha eva satatam karya prayatnat mune. The mune. So the yogi, the mumukshu, the jijnasu, the spiritual aspirant, munehe. This is the word used here by Acharya. Yati, Muni, all this refers to that Uttama Adhikari, Uttama Jijnasu, that spiritual aspirant who is desirous of liberating himself in this birth, who is desirous of knowing his true identity, who always reflects upon, always thinks, rethinks, reflects, rethinks, remembers what his guru has said. The one who is always doing manana. So Muni refers to that point. So tasmat chitta nirodha eva satatam karya prayatnat. So you must always constantly do the personal effort to control the mind, chitta nirodha. That is the key word in the shloka here. ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? ಹಿಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ವಾಕ್ ಸಂಯಮ, ಆಸೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದು, ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋದು, ಏಕಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿರೋದು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಯೋಗದ ಪ್ರಥಮ ದ್ವಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಹೇತು ಅಂತ. ಈಗೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? ಏಕಾಂತವಾಸ, ಆ ಏಕಾಂತತೆ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರತ್ತನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾತನಾಡದೆ ನಮಗೆ ನಾವಿಯಾಗಿ ಸ್ವತಃ ನಾನೇ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಏಕಾಂತತೆ. ಆ ಏಕಾಂತವಾಸ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯ ನಿಗ್ರಹಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಹಂತ ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು. ಏಕಾಂತವಾಸ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳ ನಿಗ್ರಹಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣವಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯ ನಿಗ್ರಹ ಆದಷ್ಟು, ನಮ್ಮ ಜ್ಞಾನೇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಗಿ ಹಿಡಿದಷ್ಟು ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಚಿತ್ತ ನಿರೋಧಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗತ್ತೆ, ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಆ ಒಂದು ಹತೋಟಿಗೆ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಚಿತ್ತ ನಿರೋಧದಿಂದ, ಆ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಹತೋಟಿಯಿಂದ ಅಹಂ ವಾಸನೆ ತಾನಾಗಿ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಅಹಂ ವಾಸನೆ ಹೊರಟೇ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಾಲಾನುಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು ಶರೀರ, ನಾನು ಇಂಥವನು ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಹಂ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಯ, ಅದು ಹೊರಟೇ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಅಹಂ ವಾಸನೆ, ಅಹಂ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಯ ನಾಶವಾದಾಗ, ಲಯವಾದಾಗ, ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವ, ಶರೀರ ಭಾವ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಲಯವಾದಾಗ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಯೋಗಿಗೆ? ಆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾಂಡ ರಸದ ಅನುಭೂತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಗ ಆತ್ಮ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರದ ಅನುಭೂತಿ ಆಗತ್ತೆ, ನಿಜಾನಂದ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಅನುಭೂತಿ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ತನ್ನ ನಿಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪದ ಅನುಭೂತಿ ಆದಾಗ ತಾನಾಗಿ ಆತ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾನಂದ ರಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಳುಗಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ, ಆತ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾನಂದ ಸಾಗರವೇ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಮುನಿಯಾದವನು, ಮನನಶೀಲನಾದಂತಹ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷು ಸತತವಾಗಿ ಚಿತ್ತ ನಿರೋಧಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಕೂಲವಾಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದ ಅರ್ಥ. ಮುನಿಯಾದವನು ಚಿತ್ತ ನಿರೋಧವನ್ನು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ fairly long shloka, Acharya again starts with the steps and one by one. Ekanta sthiti indriyoparamane hetuhu. He starts with that. So in the last shloka, he talked about remaining in solitude. Remaining in solitude, all by yourself. Wherever you are, whether you are in a forest, away from the city, away from the town, away from your village, or whether you are stuck in your own home, mentally, you should be in your own quiet solitude, ekantata. So now he says, see, that ekanta, living by yourself in quiet. So living by yourself all alone, that leads to Dhamma. Dhamma. See, the word Dhamma, Shama, Dhamma, all these, they're all different sets of the mental attributes. Very common point in Vedanta, used long back. They come under Shatsapanti. This sixfold spiritual wealth a mumukshu should have. So, ekanta sthiti indriyoparamane hetu. For indriyoparamane means Dhamma. Control of senses. To control the senses, living in ekanta, living all by yourself alone, that is very important. That is the first step here. Ekanta, solitude, results in controlling your sense organs. Dhamma. Control of senses. Dhamma. See, logically, if you look into this, what Acharya is trying to tell us here. See, our indriyas are all outward. Our eyes, our ears, mainly. See, you see the world and then you listen the world by two powerful indriyas. The organ of sight, eyes, organ of hearing, the ear. So, in the entire world, when I am immersed in my day-to-day activity, living my normal life, working or as a student, going to the universities, or in the work spot working, living with my family members, going out with friends, weekdays, weekends, enjoying with friends and family, kids and kids, going out, making merry of myself, enjoying myself, all the fun and frolic in life. See what is happening? My eyes are attuned to the world, sensory perceptions. I am more attracted. I am attached. And by hearing, speech, sounds from others. So all the time I am busy with the sensory perceptions, the stimuli and the reactions, and I am enjoying. Either I am enjoying or suffering. Because I am connected with the world by sensory organs, sense perception. So if I force myself to live alone as much as possible, apart from the work spot where I have to work with my colleagues and friends, when I come back home, as much as possible, if I spend my time alone in my room, and as much as possible during weekends, Saturday and Sundays, nowadays the weekend culture is there, without even going much outside, for outside trip with the family, kids and kids, if I spend myself alone during the holidays, keep my mind quiet, talking less, seeing less, what happens? If I am stuck to my own room or myself, I'll not be going up much. I'll not be seeing anything much. I'll not be hearing anything much. If I stop talking to people all the time, then that speech, that reaction will not be there. If I am quiet in my own solitude, where nobody is disturbing me, to that extent, my mind becomes quiet. So these are the points. Ekanta sthiti indriyoparamane hetu. So ekanta, solitude. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa always used to say this point, that he used to advise his disciples and bhaktas and devotees that once in a way, you must go out of your city, your town, go to a village, remote village, go to a forest and spend your time in ekanta, solitude. You retreat yourself from the hustle and bustle of city life. Retreat yourself, withdraw yourself from the active life and spend time alone in introspecting yourself. ಪರಮಹಂಸರು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಆಗಾಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ದೈನಂದಿನ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳು ಅದರಿಂದ ದೂರ ಆಗಿ, ನಗರ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳಿಂದ ದೂರ ಆಗಿ ಏಕಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವುದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕ ಉನ್ನತಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಪರಮಹಂಸ. ಏಕಾಂತವಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾದಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಏಕಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಪರಮಹಂಸರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮಿಕ ಉನ್ನತಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So that is the point. Ekanta is a means to control your senses. Dhamma. By ekanta you can control your senses. Dhamma. And by that controlling, Dhamma leads to Shama. Control of the mind. Control of the senses is Dhamma. Control of the mind is Shama. Dhammaschetaha samrode karanam. Shamena vilayam yayat aham vasana. Now the second line, if I split. Dhammaschetaha chetasaha samrode karanam. So the Dhamma leads to Shama here, control of mind. Acharya is hinting it. So we'll come back. Ekanta, solitude, leads to Dhamma, control of senses. This Dhamma, control of senses, leads to control of the mind, Shama. And the control of the mind, Shama, ultimately leads to subjugating your I-ness, feeling of I, the ego, ahankara. And finally, absorption of ego itself. Aham vasana laya. So the Shama leads to the destruction of aham vasana. Destruction of aham vasana, or it is completely reduced. And this destruction of ahankara leads to Brahmananda Rasanubhava ultimately. So here, you should control your mind by constant effort. Hence, you have to control the mind by constant effort. Tasmat chitta nirodha eva satatam karya prayatnat mune. So one by one, Acharya is giving out the points here. If as long as you always remain solidly, quietly in your mental state, if that quietness is achieved, even if you are living with everyone around you, still you can achieve the quietness of the mind by constant practice, by the grace of Guru and your own practice. All the initial efforts have to be performed. Satatavada prayatnadinda ekantavasa, ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಏಕಾಂತ, ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಮೌನ ಸಾಧನೆ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂತಃಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನ ಬಿಗಿ ಹಿಡಿಬಹುದು. ದಮ, ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನು ಬಿಗಿ ಹಿಡಿಯೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಬಿಗಿ ಹಿಡಿಬಹುದು. ಶಮ, ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳನ್ನು ಬಿಗಿ ಹಿಡಿತಾ ಹಿಡಿತಾ ಅವುಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಹತೋಟಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ಅಹಂಕಾರ, ನಾನು ಇಂಥವನು, ನಾನು ಇಂಥವಳು, ನಾನು ಇದು, ನಾನು ಅದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಭಾವ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಶರೀರಾಭಿಮಾನ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸುಮುಹೂರ್ತದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಹೊರಟೇ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. ಅಹಂ ವಾಸನಾಲಯ ಆಗಬಹುದು. ಯಾವ ಮುಹೂರ್ತದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಲಯವಾಗುತ್ತೋ, ಅಹಂ ವಾಸನ ಲಯವಾಗುತ್ತೋ, ಆಗ ಆ ಮುನಿ, ಆ ಯೋಗಿಗೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾನಂದ ರಸದ ಅನುಭವ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆತ ಆತ್ಮ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರ ಹೊಂದುತ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಯತಿಯಾದವನು, ಮುನಿಯಾದವನು, ಮುಮುಕ್ಷು ಸದಾಕಾಲ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಶೀಲನಾಗಿ ಚಿತ್ತ ನಿರೋಧಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಚಿತ್ತವನ್ನು ನಿರೋಧ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇದು ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅರ್ಥ. ಸೊ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಸೇಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್, you should control your mind, chitta nirodha. You should control your mind. Tasma chitta nirodha eva satatam kari prayatnat mune. The muni, the mumukshu, should always put in lot of efforts, personal efforts. We have to put in efforts. It cannot happen in one day. It cannot happen in 1 year, maybe. It cannot happen in few months. By constant efforts. That's what Acharya says. Only by constant effort to control the mind, all these things we have to follow. All these things we have to follow. So constant effort is required. Then he continues, Vacham niyachatmani tam niyacha buddho diyam yacha cha buddhi sakshini tam chapi purnatmani nirvikalpe विलाप्य शांतिं परमं भजस्व. वाचं नियच्छात्मनि तं नियच्छ बुद्धौ धियं यच्च च बुद्धिसाक्षिणि तं चापि पूर्णात्मनि निर्विकल्पे विलाप्य शांतिं परमं भजस्व. Paramam Shantim Bhajasva. Look, my dear disciple, the key words last charana. Paramam Shantim Bhajasva. Bhajasva means obtain Paramashanti, the highest beatitude of the grace of Atman. Obtain that supreme peace. Paramashantim Bhajasva. This is what Acharya is telling to the disciple. What is that? Vacham niyachat atmanitam niyacha buddhau diyam yacha cha buddhi sakshini tam cha api purnatmani nirvikalpe vilapya shantim paramam bhajasva. So what he says here? Niyamya means control. Exert your control by effort, by constant effort, by effort. Control. Niyamya, control. Niyacha, control. Control the speech in your mind. Control the speech in the mind. Mind is a cause, root cause for your speech pattern. So control that mind itself, which results in speech pattern. So put the control of the speech in the mind. Vacham niyacha atmani. Control the speech in the mind and control the mind in buddhi. Tam niyacha buddhau diyam. Then control the mind within your buddhi, in intellect, your reasoning power, vivechana power. Dhiyam yacha cha buddhi sakshini. Then control the buddhi within your buddhi sakshi, within the witness of the buddhi itself. Control that buddhi or intellect within the witness of buddhi or buddhi sakshi. Then finally merge this your own buddhi sakshi, witness of buddhi, that is Chaitanya or Jiva, within the Purnatma himself, finally merge. Then attain the supreme peace. Then you will attain the supreme peace. You will attain Brahmananda. You will obtain Sakshat. So, again here, Acharya is making, again, very, it looks simple, but it's so difficult. So, what he says, control the speech in your mind, control the mind in your buddhi or intellect, control the buddhi into within your buddhi sakshi, Parama Chaitanya, Jiva, in other words, Jivatma. And finally, merge your buddhi sakshi or Jiva, Jivatma, into or within Purnatma himself. That supreme awareness. Satchit Ananda Swarupa, Atma himself, Pratyagatma himself. Purnatma means Pratyagatma himself. And by that, attain the supreme. So, one leads to other, one leads to other, one leads to other. Vacham niyachatmani tam niyacha buddhau diyam yachacha buddhi sakshini tam chapi purnatmani nirvikalpe vilapya shantim paramam bhajasva tam cha api purnatmani nirvikalpe vilapya. So ultimately, in the nirvikalpa samadhi, that is merged in Purnatma, in Pratyagatma. Your Buddhi Sakshi, Sakshi Chaitanya, your Jiva will merge with Purnatma, means within Pratyagatma. Then there is a total merger. These are all colloquial sense. Actually, there is no merger. You have forgotten our own original nature. We are rediscovering our original nature. So, colloquially, merge word is used here. So, merge your Jiva into Brahma Padartha. Actually, there is no merging in the real sense. Please remember, Jiva and Brahma, one and the same. Jiva Brahma Ekatva Bhava, that is realized. So, that is called realization. That happens in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That happens in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So, by the grace of Guru Sankalpa, we are stopping here today at the shloka number 368. Vacham niyachatmani tam niyacha buddhau diyam yachacha buddhi sakshani tam chapi purnatmani nirvikalpe vilapya shantim paramam bhajas. Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namo Bhagavate Viraj.
Hari Om, sir. Thank you. I think the prescription is becoming tougher and tougher as we move along. As Bhagavad Pada is revealing what all needs to be done to quieten not only the mind, but even beyond. But thank you for such an enlightening talk.
We hope we get all the Sadbuddhi by the grace of Guru himself to treat in this path of spiritual sadhana towards perfection. Hari Om.
Yes. Hari Om, sir.